Hi, my name's Sheehan, and today I'd like to talk about Julius Caesar by Shakespeare. And I'd like to go through this famous play, exploring how it's put together and what the main themes are. Now, of course, this play, probably written in 1599, is one of Shakespeare's most famous plays. It's full of memorable lines. And I guess if you could sum it up in a sentence, it would be something like a bloody power struggle in ancient Rome. Act 1, we begin with these two tribunes berating the Roman crowds because of their fickleness. Pompey has not been dead long, and now they're glorifying all of a sudden his successor, Julius Caesar, and idolising him. And the madness of the crowds is something which comes back time and time again in this play. It's one of the themes that run through it. Then Caesar himself comes in with this magnificent military train, and he's confronted with a soothsayer with the famous lines, "Beware the Ides of March." Brutus and Cassius are fellow senators who are, well, particularly Cassius, are very much concerned with Caesar's ascent and his ambition as he climbs the rungs of power. And they're worried that he'll just become a tyrant. He'll be crowned like the hated Roman king of mythology, King Tarquin the Proud. They're worried that Caesar will follow in his wake and become a despot. And Brutus has got more high-minded ideals. He worries about the effect on the Roman people, and could it spell the end of the Republic as they know it. But Cassius is more, perhaps a bit more cynical and a bit more self-serving. Anyway, Cassius tries to persuade Brutus to take the plunge and rid Rome of Caesar. Caesar comes back in this scene, and he's suspicious of Cassius. But then Casca, another senator, recounts how Caesar thrice declined the crown before falling into some kind of fit. So clearly Caesar is playing the crowds here. During scene 3, during a portentous storm, Cassius and Casca scheme and resolve to win Brutus over to their plans. Act 2. It begins with the scene where the conspirators meet Brutus and they discuss what's going to happen. How are they going to kill Caesar? Portia, Brutus's wife, pleads with Brutus, to let her know what's going on. She knows that he's worried and anxious about something. Calpurnia, Caesar's wife in scene 2, tries to persuade Caesar to stay at home. She's convinced that he's in mortal danger due to these dreams. But Decius, one of the conspirators who's sent to accompany Caesar to the Senate, changes Caesar's mind. Then eventually Portia, Brutus's wife, encounters the soothsayer herself, the same soothsayer who warned Caesar. Act 3 is the crux of the play, and scene 1, where right bang in the middle of the play is where Caesar is murdered. The plotters then meet with Mark Antony, Caesar's friend, confidant, and they seemingly get him on side, but then Mark Antony reveals his true intentions once the plotters have left. Scene 2 has Brutus talk to the crowd to explain what's going on, but then Mark Antony makes his speech and very cleverly turns the crowd against the conspirators. This is where, friends, Romans, countrymen, lend me your ears comes from. And then in scene 3, due to mistaken identity and to the madness of the Roman crowds, Cinna the poet is mistaken for Cinna the senator and is murdered. Quite a horrific scene. Act 4, Mark Antony and Octavius. Octavius is Caesar's adopted son who will one day become emperor, of course. They decide on their next course of action. In the meantime, Brutus and Cassius meet with their armies. And Brutus and Cassius here have this almighty argument, this fight. Clearly their relationship is strained due to the assassination and the aftermath. Brutus is accusing Cassius of all kinds of financial dishonesty, taking bribes, etc. But eventually they make up, and you realise how close these two are. Brutus and his generals make up war plans for their upcoming battle against Mark Antony and Octavius. And during the night, Brutus encounters the ghost of Caesar, who warns him of that the engagement at Philippi, where the armies will meet, will not end well for Brutus. Act 5, Scene 1. There's a face-off between the opposing armies. This is where there's a kind of war of words between Brutus and his troops and Mark Antony and his troops. And then Brutus and Cassius fondly say what will probably be their farewells. There's the fight. Brutus senses victory. Cassius, who's separated by Brutus on the battlefield, he mistakenly thinks things have gone wrong, and he asks his servant to kill him. Then Brutus comes and finds Cassius dead. Finally, Brutus realises all is lost, and he kills himself. He runs into his sword, and Mark Antony delivers a brief eulogy over Brutus's dead body. You know, Julius Caesar, I mean, some of the themes that crop up in this play, and by the way, it's such an easily understandable Shakespeare play. I think it's probably one of the ones to start with if you're a bit unfamiliar with Shakespeare, because it's quite easy to follow the plot and to follow the action. And although it's quite lengthy, I mean, it's terse, it's quite concentrated, and very well structured, of course, because Caesar's death, which is kind of the linchpin of the play, is right in the middle of it, scene 1, Act 3, and we have the build-up and then the aftermath. It's kind of very elegant construction, I think. Some of the themes that crop up, you know, the power of speech, and this resonates so strongly with today, of course, where it's not so much the substance of what our politicians are telling us which takes our attention, but the way it's delivered, the way it appeals to our emotions, the way it makes us feel. And you can't help but, with the crowds in Julius Caesar, you can't help but see the crowds, the general populace of our times, responding in knee-jerk ways to various things happening in our political sphere. The power of words, you know, Mark Antony's speech to the crowds in Act 3 is just a virtuosic display of how to sway a group of people's opinions. He's always praising the plotters, the conspirators, but then he undermines them. You know, really fantastic. But then there's also the war of words between Brutus and Cassius. Cassius persuading Brutus at the beginning of the play to go ahead and kill Caesar. Words are used to persuade, to embolden, to perhaps deceive sometimes. I think Brutus even deceives himself much of the time in this play with his ideals. Perhaps they're not as deeply held as he thinks they are. And of course Mark Antony talking over Brutus's body at the end. So it's a play where speech in terms of making a speech is one of the predominant themes. The madness of the crowds, the fickleness of the crowds. A lot of visions and portents and omens as well in this play. And of course, a lot of death, suicide, Portia, Brutus's wife, but she dies really indirectly because of the events. Cinna, the poet, killed in this horrific way just because he shares the name of the senator. Death just haunts this play, as you'd imagine it would do, of course, with Caesar himself being killed centrally. I think there's a lot about male friendship as well, kind of this brothers in arms mentality in this play. Yeah, so Julius Caesar, I mean, it goes without saying it's just an amazingly brilliant work. Of course it is, it's Shakespeare. But it's got many resonances today, I think. Please check out the slideshow after this, summarising the plot through each of the scenes and just listing some of the themes which I think crop up. Thanks for watching, bye.